Hey, Kristen.
Hey, Tracy.
How are you, honey?
I am good. I want to just tell you, I love getting together with you online like we are,
Oh,
but I do love getting together with you in person.
I do too.
We had some fun,
Yeah, we
and
know
it
how to
was
party.
short. It was
Yeah,
short.
it was short, but we
Short, but
definitely know how to party.
we
No question about
do.
it. I know, I know, I know.
I enjoyed it. So it was
Me
fun.
too.
Yeah.
So, can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay. Yes, I'm Kristen Grannan. I have a podcast called Raw Female, which takes an unfiltered, raw look at at the female experience of midlife and beyond. I live in San Francisco. I am on the tail end of the boomers. And that's me.
Awesome. As you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, but also here, if you're listening on one of the podcast apps, Kristen and I are very different. Kristen is white. If you're looking at us, you might be able to notice I'm black, right? She is married to a wonderful man named Dave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am divorced, but from a wonderful man named
Mm-hmm.
Marby.
We're lucky
Uh,
in that way.
yes,
That was
yes, I
one of
am.
the things we talked about.
Yeah, yeah, I am
how
lucky.
how it feels good to
Still be
have
friends.
been and be loved. Like
Yes,
that feels good. Yeah.
yes. Kristen lives in Northern California. I live in Southern California. Each of those two versions of California have their own personality. Also, um, we both have children, but she has two adult children, and I have one adult child. But despite our differences, we have done what a lot of adults find very difficult to do. And I'm sure you can hear it already. And that is, we've become friends, and we've become friends as adults. We met at a podcast conference, roaming the halls like high school teenagers, deciding which classes we each were going to take, sharing notes afterwards, talking trash in the hallway afterwards. Of course, doing what we came there to do, which was setting some goals, but not avoiding getting tipsy in the evening either.
No. We'll be
like we
recording a little separate takeout of that experience. But I
like we
forget what
may
his
have
name
done
was.
also done as teenagers, right?
Right, right.
And finishing the evening off again with more trash talking every night. But today we decided we would get together and talk about the power of friendship and how it helps to combat loneliness, which has been declared
Mm-hmm.
an epidemic in the United States. So, jumping right in, Christian, as a
Mm-hmm.
married person with adult children and you have family that is local, do you still ever find yourself getting lonely?
So, yes, definitely. And by the way, you have to add in my two sisters that also live in the Bay Area with me. But
Right.
yes, definitely. And why that is I just feel like friends play a very powerful other role than your family than your family does.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do get lonely. And, I moved from Boston uh, a decade ago. And when I was leaving Boston, I knew I was leaving something that I was very valuable to me. And that was my network of friends there. Not
Mm-hmm.
network. It was my group of
Yeah.
women
Yeah. It's
there. And
chosen
it was
family. It's chosen
yeah,
family,
it
right?
was really hard. And
Yeah.
I felt lonely here, even though I live in the city and I have all these people around me. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely felt, I missed, there was a hole, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
and and so how did you with that coming did you have any friends in the Bay Area when you moved up north?
I had a couple friends here. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
did, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody is busy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So it just is. And I moved into San Francisco. I used to live in the East Bay, so the geography was a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did tap in to some
Mm-hmm.
of my former friends. I didn't have as many.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I started, then I actually realized that I was lonely, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I set out to to make friends.
Seriously,
I
right?
did. I
Right?
was very, because then I also had started my podcast, and podcasting is a little work lonely as well.
It
So
is.
it was, and yeah. So I can tell you how I mean, we have a very different situation because I moved. You didn't move, but what was your situation like?
Well, what happened to me was, I am a native Californian, and a native Southern Californian, but I lived primarily much of my life in LA proper in the city. And then I moved to the Valley. And whereas I didn't lose my friends, the distance, just the driving, because LA has such a huge traffic problem that you can't get anywhere now within 45 minutes minimum. So that started to take a toll. But, it wasn't as big of a deal because I also was working and I traveled a bunch for work. So I was gone a lot of the time. And also, my colleagues were my friends also. They became my work
Mm-hmm.
family, my work friends. But when
Mm-hmm.
I retired, and many of my friends had not retired, that was when I first went, okay, it's been a month and you've been shopping 20 out of the 30 days. This is a problem.
Right,
This is a
right.
problem.
For
This is a
me,
problem.
you've been eating 20 out of the that's my thing. We all have our things. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
just depends on the
yeah,
drug of choice at the time,
yeah,
right?
yep,
And
yep.
mine was shopping at that point.
Right,
And so I think there is the whole thing of, like you said, you've got to do something about it. You got to take
right,
action.
right,
And you decided, I'm going to make some new friends.
right.
I said something. I
Mm.
basically put in basically what I would call a cry for help to my girlfriend who had retired a year before me, Clover.
Mm-hmm.
You've
Mm-hmm.
heard me talk about Clover,
Yes.
Princess
Yeah.
Clover.
Who I
And
want to meet.
yes,
Expand my friend network to
yes, yes,
Clover.
yep,
Clover.
yep.
Yeah.
She's a good one
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
And I said to her, "Oh my God, I am struggling." And she said, in her very, oh my God, 911 way, we got to do something.
Mm.
And what she did was, I've never been a joiner of groups, never,
Mm-hmm.
because I like to do my own thing and don't really follow rules very well. So, but she said, I got to get you playing.
That's this is one number one reason you and I are working. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said, I got to get you playing Mahjong and I want you to join
Mm-hmm.
a book club.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so the book club thing was a little off putting for me, to be honest, because I've been a reader my entire life and I don't want other people telling me what to read.
Oh
How,
God. Tracy, can I tell you? Okay, just put a pin in that. Put a pin in that one. We'll go back to that. Okay.
but I did both. And I could not be happier that I did both. I am officially addicted to Mahjong. I play at least once a week. I've made a wonderful community and friends within Mahjong. The book club, I also love the book club. What an incredibly interesting and different group of women. And, one of the things I would say is that in both of those situations, um, I haven't just made new friends, but I have um, been exposed to people who are very different than me and
Mm-hmm.
who I have really learned to appreciate them. And I think they would say the same about us. And we've learned things about our backgrounds, cultures, particular familial situations. And it's just been terrific. So, yeah.
I, I think that's super healthy too,
Mm-hmm.
by the
Yeah.
way. I did the same thing. I joined a book group. And by
Uh-huh.
the way, I didn't have a power dynamic issue over that like you. I'm like, if you're picking the book, fine. So, you know, and I also joined it with a group that were like really intense readers, and I appreciated that. Oh,
Yeah.
but before I joined the book group, actually years before I joined the book group, I joined a movie group, and it was a little tricky to get in. I had to be sponsored, not really,
Were you on a
but
wait
I got
list?
in.
Were you on a
What?
wait list?
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
I'll have you know, Clover has a wait list for our book club. Clover runs the book club.
Of course
And
she
Clover has said,
does.
of course she does. And
We
Clover has said, no more folks in right now. So you
okay.
can't,
Yeah, that
you must
our
be
movie group is.
sponsored. You must be sponsored. And right now, no more folks in. So,
I feel like I needed to bribe somebody. I bet Clover isn't above that. Yeah. So I joined this movie group, which was super diverse. They were friends before, and I had no problem. And it's just been that was great
that's awesome. I
because
love that.
yeah, because also I tapped into like it's a pretty like I'm gonna say it intellectual movie group. So I am constantly like paddling to keep up with them, and so it met that need too. So I feel like with friends, for me, I like it to meet a couple needs. Like you had to meet a couple needs, right?
Yes.
You did it like a mahjong thing, which is kind of fun to learn. And the people were all kind of different, and
Yes.
took you
Yes.
out of your regular,
Right.
kind of routine.
Right.
And for me too. And I think that is key to making new friends. That it
I
has
do
to check a
too.
couple boxes
Yes.
for me as an older person, because life is, and this is the great thing about meeting people in midlife, it's like new people, is that you keep it forces you to be exposed to new
Absolutely, it
ideas,
does. It
new ways
does.
to live, new ways to handle, our lives, like, and that feels really life affirming. And that's why I needed friends.
I have friends, as you well know, of all ages too. I have
Mm-hmm.
friends that are quite a bit younger than me. I have friends that are 20 years older than me. And I have those who are, actually my peers. And what I
Mm-hmm.
find is that each of them give me different things. And I love that. I absolutely love it. And so I'll be honest with you. I'm out picking up people in the streets. Just,
I know. Thus you and me. Thus me meeting you. Thus us becoming friends. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, like friends for different purposes. So I was thinking
yes,
about the friendship thing, and when I was, in Boston, I realized, oh, I have this group of friends that's, and that I put together unbeknownst to me, and they're all serving like different functions, right?
absolutely.
I got my food friends. I got my fashion friends. I got my film friends. I got my heart to heart, like cry in their hot tub friends. I
Yes,
got that
yes.
friends,
Yeah. And so
and
let's talk
yeah,
about that a little bit though,
yeah,
because
yeah.
do you find that you have friends that you can tell your trashiest truth to that your family might not even really know, or a feeling that you have? Let's say, and I'm making this up,
Yep.
let's say that Dave has a friend and you're like, ugh, but Dave likes him, you don't want to, whatever. Do you have that friend that you can say, "Oh my God, the way that guy eats pizza"?
Multiple of those. The fact that I need so many friends to fill that bucket, like to be that in my life tells you something. Oh yeah,
Yep.
no, I do.
Right.
And then there are other friends that they're still friends of mine, but that's not what we have.
Right. No, not at
You
all.
know, that's not what we have.
And I
Yeah.
think that's also what is beautiful about the whole friendship thing,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
ability to combat that loneliness is that
Yeah.
you cannot expect one friend to meet every need,
No.
and
No.
not at all.
No.
Like I
No.
have friends, like you said, like my whole foodie issues, they are not interested. No, thank you. My whole decorating, always got to be doing something to the house, not interested.
No. No.
My collection of napkins and napkin rings.
Which, by the way, you need to take a picture, post it on Insta. I want you to hashtag it, something nutty over napkins. Something really corny like that.
No, they're not interested. They're not interested.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
I needed to call them at 3:00 in the morning, they're gonna be there. You know.
Well, I got to tell you, you just hit on something right there.
Mm-hmm.
That, just the way I'm made, that's kind of the entry point
Yeah.
on my friends. And
Yeah.
isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't need you to be able to tell me if these pants make my ass look good. Like, I don't need that. But, when my house burns down and
Yeah.
you're there,
Yeah.
that's totally it for me. Like,
well, and that's why I think people fall into categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
They may
Mm-hmm.
be a friend,
Mm-hmm.
they may be an acquaintance, and you enjoy your acquaintance. They may be an
Totally.
associate. You
Yeah.
enjoy your associate.
Yeah.
And then there are the 3:00 in the morning friends, the you tell the truth to,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
know stuff that to the grave, they better take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just,
Yeah.
and each of those categories allows us to not burden the other group. Because if you're expecting to get everything from one group, just like a partner, it's ludicrous. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's simply not going to happen.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Let me ask you, what's the hardest limitation that a friend has? Okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking.
Okay, all right.
Like for me, non-foodie friends, those are difficult. Those, I am that shallow. Those are hard. It's like, I don't think I can do a road trip with you.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard.
That's
right?
hard.
Yeah, I have one. I have one, and she knows who she is, and she shall go unnamed.
Yeah.
But she is non-foodie to the point of wanting to always think of things to do that don't involve food. And when I say don't involve food, like, why would we need to go to lunch, or why would we need to grab a coffee?
Yeah. Why would
and I'm kind of like,
I feel a little empty. I feel a little empty right now. I know.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. And I have this other friend who's actually the opposite. She's like, 3:00, time for that latte and a little dessert. And I'm like,
well, she's kind of like me.
That's why we're friends. I forgot.
I can make time for food or drink.
Yeah.
In any situation.
Yeah.
It's never. I'm the people who say when they come with the dessert menu, oh no, I'm too full. I hate them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate
Or
them.
how about the friends that don't even check with you when they say, no, we're done. Like, what? You've known me for how long? Am I ever done? I mean, what? And also that you're not checking with me?
Right.
Like multiple
you speak
layers.
For the group. You speak for the group, right? And for me, when people say, "Oh no, I'm totally full," what the hell does full have to do with dessert?
Yeah.
No one says.
I know. See,
no one says,
have.
No one says, Are
no.
you hungry?
Yeah.
Would you like
Yeah.
dessert? They
Yeah.
say, would you like dessert? It is
Yeah.
a way of finishing the
Yeah.
meal off, as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
No,
So,
totally. Totally.
I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
no. Well, one strategy about meeting friends, by the by. So, the book group and the movie group, I'm just jumping back to that for a second,
Yeah,
really
yeah,
worked with me to meet friends. I tell you what didn't work for me, which I thought was going to work.
What?
Because when I came back, is I started, because I didn't know what I was doing before I started my podcast. I didn't quite know what I was doing. So I thought, okay, I'm going to volunteer with some organizations that, are in my meaning circle.
Right.
And I did some volunteer work at several different places, never built a friendship group around that.
Around your volunteering?
Yeah, I was really surprised.
Wow.
I know.
Now, why do you think that was, though?
I'm not quite sure. And they were involving student literacy and student college, success.
Uh-huh.
And they were, sort of grassroots, local San Francisco organizations that were awesome.
Yeah.
And a lot of the volunteers were like, my profile. I don't even know if that means anything, but they were, there's a lot of women. They were women that had, were my age. So that demographic, which I thought was going to be like super low hanging fruit.
And what about racially?
Racially,
was it a
they
mixed
weren't
group?
as racially diverse as they were socioeconomically diverse.
Okay,
actually.
so were most of the women white?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I know, but they weren't, but we're all different socioeconomic levels. Like it was all different, you know.
That's interesting.
So I thought that was interesting because I could see if it was racially, like I can kind of see that.
Like people, like there wasn't a connection or whatever.
Right. Right.
That's
so that was surprising
weird
to me.
Did you want to say, hey, why don't you guys like me?
Be my friend. Well, the funny thing is, it wasn't that they were hanging out without me. Like,
okay.
It really wasn't that. It was just that I didn't like, do you know when you're with people, like say you're playing pickleball or mahjong or, whatever, people are like, oh, do you want to get together? Or, oh, do you want to play now? Or do you want to get together for lunch? And then we do this. Or, there's sort of this kind of, it sort of expands.
Exactly.
These were like, we did our work,
it was transient almost.
Yeah.
Right?
And then we left for the day.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that
there were no real connections made.
Yeah. Super surprised about that. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I do know from a story that you told me that you made connections with at least one of the children, though. So you had relationships that
was
extended,
nice.
But it just wasn't with the adults. And maybe that was what that was meant to be for you.
Yeah. And it's funny, and that was is a special relationship. And when I think about the other kids too, now that I look at it, it was like I was very intent on the people that I was serving. And so that could have been it, that could have been sort of what was going on there.
Yeah. I'm always, this tells you how self-involved I am. I kind of can't believe it when people don't connect to me. Like, example, I have a neighbor who, I was sure we were going to be a fit.
Yeah.
And I don't have very many neighbor friends. I don't have. And so this woman and I, we started walking together, and I was like, yes, this is it. Got my first real neighbor friend. And then she just stopped responding to my phone calls.
She ghosted you. Whoa.
And I see her walking past my house. And she'll say, hello. Just keep going. And I so badly want to say to her, are you kidding me? People like me.
Tracy, some people want alone time. I mean, being with you, like being with me, is like the opposite of alone time. Like, forget it. So I gotta say, don't take that
I am
personally.
this close to saying to her, what the hell is going on? Like, who do you think you are not liking me? I'm likable.
Look at me. And then you realize that that's middle school Tracy coming out in you.
I
And
know.
you got to check that shit.
But
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I am fighting hard to keep it in check because.
Okay, that's interesting.
What the hell? Who?
Yeah.
Like what? Like you just ghost me? You are a 60-year-old woman. You just ghost me?
But wait, was the extent of your relationship walking?
Yes, but we talked about things. I mean, we were definitely, in my mind, we were becoming friends.
Have you invited her over for a drink?
No, I have not, but I don't want to say too much because I think she listens to the show.
Oh,
so
okay.
Let's abandon ship.
I'm just going to say that walking time can be sacred for some people.
I do. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that, but I feel there's I feel there's something.
I feel like we could take a whole episode and plumb our middle school selves and our 60-year-old selves and see.
I do feel like, who the hell do you think you are not liking me? I'm kind of like queen of the neighborhood in my mind.
Well, Tracy, she's an independent woman, and everybody has different tastes.
This is as good as it gets in this neighborhood.
So are you going to put a sign out in your front yard? Not that we accept everyone. This is Queen Bee is here. This is as good as it gets. If you're looking for the cream of the crop, you found the address.
Right here.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. What do you make of this question about friends?
Okay.
Oh, I'm too busy now. I've got plenty of friends I don't need anymore. What do you think about that attitude?
I do understand it. I
understand it too.
I'll tell you why I understand it. And maybe that's her situation, but she is out there walking past my house. I should put a roadblock where she can't walk past his house, right?
Get the water balloons out, Tracy. I mean, if we're going to middle school, get those water balloons.
Right. I totally understand that. And I also understand it living in LA. And if you want to have quality relationships, I believe, I mean, I have friendships that go back 40 years, over 40 years. Yeah, over 40 years, probably 45 years now.
Yeah.
And I believe if you want quality relationships, you have to invest in them. You have to nurture those relationships. And so that takes time. And I can get not being in that place where you have the time to invest. And that, I think, also is where different friendships come in. So what about you?
Wait, I will answer you. What did you mean by where different friendships come in? That's the point where different.
Some people are those friends that you can tell your story to at 3:00 in the morning. And other people are, let's go grab a cup of coffee. And and let's go shop for knobs for my cabinet where I keep all the napkins. That's a real need. I wish you lived in Southern California because we could definitely go do that together.
Totally. That's that is my jam.
That's your jam. I know it.
Yeah, I understand it totally. I do, for me, feel like in terms of, oh, I'm so busy or I've got enough friends or all of that. I am so interested in the midlife experience and where it intersects with like complacency. And I just can't be bothered anymore to put on shoes that tie. Like I want slip-ons. Okay. So sometimes you got to push back on those things. And I think friends can, and by the way, I got that from my sister, Allie. I'm going to give a shout out to Allie on that. She came over one day and she looked at me and she's like, Kristen, like, what's with all the slip-ons? I never see you in shoes that you got to commit to. Like,
I love
And I
it.
just feel like she nailed it.
I love it.
She's also such a fashionista. She would notice that. For me, it's like, okay. But anyway, I do feel like for me, I am enriched by experiences with other friends and women.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to bring more into my life because it enriches me. And I'm all about like, enrichment in these midlife years
Yes,
and
I
beyond.
agree. I
And,
agree.
I
I
just,
agree.
and for me, friends are that. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
agree.
also crochet miniature vegetables and put faces on them, and that's enriching in a different way. But I do like that. I
Yeah.
have to tell you, speaking about like enriching friends, and I think I told you this story before, and I wanted to ask you if you've ever had this experience. Is that so? One of the places that I meet friends is doing interesting things, like fun things fun things I like to do.
Right.
So pickleball is one of those. I'm that woman. And so I met this new friend,
Mm-hmm.
Emily, in this pickleball class.
Okay.
And we like fell into our friendship like bam. Like we
Gotcha.
dove in. You know how they say about, oh, love, fools rush in or whatever in love?
Right,
Well, this
right,
is like
right.
friendship love. And we just bammed.
Wow.
And we were both like, but we just kind of took over.
Yeah.
And so we had to do a friendship backfill. Have you ever had to do that?
Wait.
Like, we had a, we kept like moving our friendship forward, but we had no history of each other. So we
Oh,
were like, wait, are you married? Wait, how many times have you been
yeah,
married?
yeah, yeah,
Wait, do you
yeah,
have
yeah.
children? Wait, do you get
Yeah.
pedicure, manicures?
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
and
that
it's
you
so
go.
funny.
Yeah, but that
No,
was what was interesting about the two of us, though, was exactly the opposite of that. First of all, I think, I was asking myself when I was thinking about this show and the fact that we just became almost friends instantly.
yeah,
Like, what was it that drew me to her? And I would say that I definitely like people who have big energy. And,
mm,
that was obvious very, very quickly. You were very engaged. You were
mm-hmm,
very welcoming. It was clear that you were fun. I was
mm-hmm.
a little bit worried about the type A-ness of your personality, considering the type A-ness of mine.
Totally. Well, and that TBD, TBD on that, because that is not always a match,
Exactly.
right?
No,
Right,
definitely not. Two
right,
people who want to
right,
run things, yeah.
right.
I mean, I think even at the conference, I had to say, hold on, Kristen, you're not fucking running this. Oh boy, now I
Oh,
said the F word on the show.
that's okay. How
Right?
about when we're doing the last interview and I'm telling you, okay, well, what about your background? And I'm like, I'm not the showrunner
You
here.
did.
What?
I
I'm
had to
the
say to you at one
guest.
point,
What?
this is not your damn show, Kristen. Chill.
Even
Okay.
Tanisha was like, we'll see how this turns out. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, it's really interesting to have that with, like, I have two sisters, and
Hmm.
I have that with one of them is
Yeah.
like a little bit type A's, both of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And it's very complicated. So I
Yeah.
feel like having a friend, like a new friend like you who's type
Yeah.
A, not so complicated.
Well,
Because
now,
I feel like you and I are both putting each other in our place
exactly.
without feeling any like
I
back
think
story.
I think that's the way it has to be in order to
Mm-hmm.
maintain the
Mm-hmm.
friendship, is to acknowledge this is a thing,
Yeah.
and we both gotta know when to step back and when to tell the other one, back the hell up, I got this, or this one's not yours to lead. And
Right.
I will tell you that that is something that I have gotten so much better about as I've matured. Some friends
Mm-hmm.
of mine, we went to the Pasadena Showcase House, which is a
Mm.
big, house that is designed once a year by different interior decorators. And I think there were four of us. And at one point, all four were trying to be the boss of the situation. And I was like, I hate all of them. So I'm going to bow out. And I don't care if we run off into a ditch. I'm just not offering anything because it's too many chiefs, you know?
Yeah.
But I've gotten better
Yeah.
at that whole
Yeah.
thing of you got to pull back. You don't need to
Yeah.
run everything. There are
No.
other competent people. Let
Yeah.
them do their thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the sort of secret to, you know, when you're both kind of got to be girl bossing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think also we don't have egos. I mean,
Yeah.
involved too much yet.
Yeah.
And
No.
I don't think we do. Like, I just feel like with family, with sisters, it's like, oh my
Oh
God,
yeah.
it's so
Oh, with
complicated.
siblings, yeah. Well, you're
Yeah.
carrying all that history, you
Yeah.
know, all that, you
Exactly.
know, and all
Exactly.
that. Everybody has a role, right? And that
Yeah.
role has been established,
Right.
and
Right.
so
Right.
that's real complicated. But
Right.
I will say, I do want to be clear in our new friendship. I have a very big ego.
And I'm a bull in the china shop. So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I mean, I think, I mean, it's true. It's funny because I don't know if I have a big ego. I don't know if I do. Do I? Do I seem like I do?
I don't feel big ego, but what I feel is big boss. Big boss. I mean, you know, shaking your hips and running things.
Okay, you got to repeat that whole thing. Wait a minute. You got to repeat that whole thing because what I do feel, and then you froze, and I'm like,
I said I don't feel big ego, but I feel big boss, shaking your hips and running things. Right? I
you know
got
what?
this.
I gotta say, I'm sorry to my sister Allie, who also gets that vibe from me. And I'm like, me? What?
What? What? Yeah, no.
I know. It's super interesting. It
Yeah,
really is. I mean, I
yeah.
think the thing that helped us just bam together was
Mhm.
like, first of all, we were at a conference where we knew no one, right?
Yes,
Second
yes,
of all, we're in like a similar stage of life.
yes.
Third of all, we don't have this thing of tiptoeing around people.
No.
Like, we're kind of both like, this is us.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I feel like that energy is, and also we're females, so there
Yeah.
wasn't a threat, like a
I
gender
don't
threat.
I don't feel that either of us felt a sense of competition with
No,
the other. You know what I
no,
mean?
no,
What
exactly. And also, our podcasts are different, so we didn't feel a
exactly.
professional sense of competition.
Exactly.
you know
Exactly.
so it
Yeah.
was kind of, it's fun. And then I was really intrigued by like just your experiences, and it just, I don't know, it was fun. And then
Yeah.
anyway, but yeah, it was super fun. It's
And
super fun.
we going back to the deal that you said about you and your new friend Emily having to instead of Emily in Paris, Emily on the pickleball court, you guys having to backfill the friendship. You and I had like a crash course because despite having spent a few days together at a conference, I then came to your house, happened to be in your neighborhood, and spent the night at your house maybe a month later. And we spent maybe 4 hours that morning filling each other in about our stories. And so,
Totally.
yeah,
We
yeah,
committed.
crash
Right.
course, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I do want to just clarify that
Yeah.
it wasn't that Tracy was just wandering the neighborhood. She found herself at my house and she came in. In case anybody has the thought that this woman is like constantly looking at who's walking in what neighborhood and what house wins.
But
So,
your house is a winner for sure. Your house
well,
is
it's
definitely a winner.
well, thank you. It's because of the people that are in it and the dog that's in it.
Oh, the
Yeah,
dog
the dog.
Fanny. Oh,
Yeah, so
Fanny.
we've got.
Fanny is my new dog friend though too.
Oh
Right, Fanny's
yeah,
my new dog
yeah. Well, I
bestie.
mean that's the other thing, and you love the dog. I mean, your
Yeah,
dogs, your grand
yeah,
dogs, like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it's yeah.
All
So
right.
yeah,
So, what did we learn here today? So, I always like to close the show with a little bit of wisdom and lessons learned. I will say my main thing that I thought about when I started to prepare for this show was the power of speaking up and saying, I'm lonely. What about you? What would you say, Kristen?
I would say that don't prejudge where you're going to meet people. Well,
Mm.
I would say two things. First of all, question your assumption if your life is so full that you don't want to bring more people in. That's number one.
Wow. I
And
love
if you
that.
do want to bring more people in, don't prejudge where those people are going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I found friends. I thought I was going to get friends in one place. They ended up coming from another. So
Mm-hmm.
that's number one. The other thing too that I didn't mention is that when I moved from Boston, my friends in Boston connected me with people here. And
Oh,
they're
that's
some of the
nice.
people that I most enjoy
Referrals.
spending time with. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that I
Yeah.
think is,
Yeah.
is a great takeaway
Yep.
to do,
Yep.
so
And I
yeah.
think the obvious stuff, joining a club or a meetup group or a sporting thing that you have interest in. I mean, I have to say, even when you feel like, oh, I don't want somebody telling me what to do, like I felt about the book club, I have met some of the most wonderful women via that group of folks. Um, I didn't play mahjong. It was something that I learned to play, and I am hooked like a little addict. Plan to go to my first
Mm-hmm.
tournament this year. Um,
How
so yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 All
And
those
I
things.
and I would agree that, like, also the twofer, something new, someone new, bam.
Yeah, I love that. I love
You
that.
know,
Something
I
new,
like that
someone new.
match.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's fun. And also the intergenerational, just don't forget the intergenerational,
Yes,
the
yes,
richness of an intergenerational relationship.
yes. I would say that has been. I have received so much as a result of the intergenerational also. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hon. Well, this is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So
And
glad
yeah.
we sat down to talk again.
So
And
great to see you.
you too, sweetie. And where can folks find you?
Rawfemale.com. Sign up for my newsletter. Season 2's coming out shortly. And that's where I am.
By the way, Kristen's newsletter is fantastic. It is information packed.
That's
Um,
my game. That's my goal.
yep,
Info and info.
yep. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It is all those
Yeah. And
things.
all legit. Like, I really don't want to be a mouthpiece for
Yeah,
bunk.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of good info out there.
Yep. All right,
So,
hon. Appreciate
okay,
it.
Trace.
All
Good
right.
seeing you.
You too. Take care.
Bye.